Touch your neighbor and say, God needs a vacuum. When we got ready to start this conference, we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole. The devil tried to come and make me nervous. I refused to hear his voice. And the only thing I kept seeing is that the people need miracles and God needed a vacuum. With the prophet Elijah, God begins to create a famine and cause the famine in the prophet's life. And he begins to shut the prophet's water off, fired the prophet's raven, amen, and began to put the prophet in a famine situation because a widow woman at Zarephath needed a miracle. And I'm here to tell you that you came here needing a miracle. You came here needing a breakthrough. You came here in a dilemma. Some of you took your last credit on your credit card and say, I'm going to see the prophet. Some of you came with your last dollars. Some of you just got fired off your job. You had no way of knowing how you were going to be sustained. But I'm here to give you the word of the Lord that the prophet equates provision. And what God is doing in this hour, he's brought you to this place, amen, and created a vacuum so he can get a miracle in your life. Maybe you didn't know why you were summoned here, but I knew. When they told me how much the binder was going to cost, I said, get it. What the pen's going to cost, I said, get it. He said, Bishop, you're giving a whole lot. Put the little planner in and give it. What about this? Because you give it. What about that? Give it. And I'm telling you something right now. You think this one was something, you wait until August. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Touch your neighbor and say, give it. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Touch another neighbor and say, give it. I don't care if your finances are looking down. I don't care if your situation is looking difficult. Touch somebody right now and say, give it. I don't care if it looks as though your budget has flown out of the window. Amen. You might be ready to get dispossessed. Touch somebody else and say, give it. It might seem as though you're about to be dispossessed. Well, I want you to know that what you have is not enough to meet your need. It's only a seed. Touch your neighbor and say, give it. Some folks begin to say, well, you know, they take up 2 and 3 offerings in one day. But you know what? I understand that you won't complain when you start getting 2 and 3 harvests in one day. Touch your neighbor and say, give it. Hurrabasa. Now, can I say something to you? And we told you that, and I don't want to make the advertisement seem to be lying, because they also slipped and said that I will be sharing about the mysticism of money. And me tell you that whenever God brings you into an age, you've got to understand the age that you are in and move in the spirit of that day. Touch your neighbor and say, move in the spirit of your day. The Bible lets us know that God walked in the cool of the day, which was the spirit of the day. He went to talk with Adam in the spirit of the day. And the Bible said that God has given us signs in the heaven, the stars for signs. Amen. And can I tell you that the stars and the astrological signs, amen, we might as well go on out there, was not created by Satan, but was created by God. It was only abused by the world. And when you begin to understand that Jesus, and many scholars, Bullinger, believe that Jesus was born roundabout in the month of September, amen, where it seemed as though that the Feast of Lights, or when the angel may have appeared unto Mary, it may have been around about December. You see Hanukkah, Feast of Lights, when the light begins to come into the world. Amen. And she began to conceive, and then she began to carry him for about 9 months, and the Word was made flesh and tabernacled, Feast of Tabernacles, in the month of September. The Word became flesh and tabernacled among us. So Jesus, being born seemingly around the time of Virgo, born of a virgin, and he fulfills the entire constellations. An end starts with Virgo, and you go the full cycle, and he ends as Leo, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Well, I might as well send you home with something to talk about. You can't let your religious mind get in the way. You just got to understand the day that you're in. And folks that are calling stuff New Age, they wouldn't know New Age if it slapped them upside the head. New Age is a system that is operating outside of Christ. Now, Jesus moved in the spirit of the day he was in. And that's why he worked miracles with fish all the time. You need to understand the age he was in. Now you can go and check this. Go do some reading. But you notice the church made the sign of the fish.